everybody, thanks for joining me for today's update on Daily IoT. We're going to take a break from the tech for just a minute. I said I wanted to talk more about the full picture of the journey here, things like the business side, marketing. And so on today's episode, I want to talk about money. And by that I mean, I want to talk about my thoughts around how to approach funding a product idea such as the one that we're working on, like the hockey puck project. And I just wanted to share a little bit of my thoughts about how I'm approaching it. I'm not saying this is right or wrong. I guess time will tell whether this approach works for me or not. But the two big ways that I've seen that people approach doing hardware products are VC funding and Kickstarter. And I don't like either of those options. And so let me just talk really quick about that. Kickstarter, let's start there. Kickstarter is full of examples of why hardware projects fail because people have no idea how complex or hard they are. It's like, I'm an idea person, I'm just pay the people and we'll get all the hardware together and we're gonna make $1 billion. And then they find out that hardware is really, really hard to do well. And I don't really like the Kickstarter model because I feel like a lot of the projects that I've seen are along the lines of, listen, it's ready to go and everything's good, which it never is. We just need a lot of orders to lower the price of manufacturing. And that is a real thing in hardware. If you go to someplace like DigiKey and start looking up any part, you'll see that the amount to purchase one versus even 10 or 100 is drastically different. The price falls off really quickly. And so it's a real thing to say, oh, I need 1,000 orders because that brings my cost way down and I can hit my price point and still make a profit. The problem with that is I feel like, first of all, Kickstarter's taking a pay cut. PayPal, I believe, also takes a pay cut on top of that. So that money is going through the platform. And not that there's not value in the platform. I don't want to debate that. But you're losing that money. But also, I feel like I'm in a position where I don't need that crutch because I'm in a position financially that if I need to say I need 1,000 to hit my price point, then I will buy the parts and the manufacturing costs of 1,000 because I'm able to do that. I have a good job. I've done well. I'm not rich, but I could float 1,000 of these if I felt confident that I was going to sell them and make a profit. So I would just do that, and then I'd say I'm comfortable doing that because I'll make the money back. And so that's why I'm not really a big fan of Kickstarter. I know that there's other things involved with that, but I'm just not really a fan. I don't feel like Kickstarter is worth the flesh that they take out of that. And so I'm not a Kickstarter fan. Not going to go that route. The other route I see is people try to do VC funding, try to get into a hardware accelerator and do things like that. And there's also lots of value there in mentorship and specifically connections. If anything, getting into an accelerator is going to get you, it's connections and people with money. However, I feel like, again, you're trading ownership of your idea and direction for, shares of the company. And there's lots of stories about how that's been successful and others that have failed massively and people lose direction and control over the thing that they loved and were passionate about because they don't own enough of it anymore. And so, again, I don't feel like I'm in a spot where I need that. This is something that I'm happy to methodically approach and build and iterate on and try to sell. And if I sell 10 of them, I'm going to be ecstatic. If I sell 100 of them, it'll blow my mind. And so I don't think I need VC funding, nor do I want VC funding. And so the moral of all that, or the conclusion to all that, is I am self-funding all of this. And again, I'm in a position to do that, and so I feel comfortable doing that. Now, as part of that, I feel like it would be interesting, I've seen somebody else on the internet do this, and I found it fascinating, was to sort of open book it and say, here are my costs and expenses and my income as part of this thing that I've run. And I find that really interesting to actually, you see tons of YouTube videos where people are walking through rented houses with rented cars and being like, I'm making so much money, and it's all just this big smoke and mirrors show. I found it really cool to actually see somebody who is successful that has shared, this is what I spend on advertising every month, and this is what I spend on raw materials, and this is how much I make from my sales, and that means I netted this much every month. I found that fascinating, and I thought that it would be interesting to do that here. Now, there's nothing interesting happening right now. I'm still in the development phase of this, but there are costs. I just paid for the predictable hardware report that I will be getting, and I paid like, I can't remember the exact number. I think it's like $1,100 for that. And on top of that, I've got some expenses through prototyping stuff. Like I'm messing around with pucks to carve them out and chisel them out. Pucks cost money. And so on top of like the hardware report, I've only spent maybe, I don't know, maybe 100, 200 max. But I want to share that, if for nothing else, to give other people out there insight into what kind of costs you incur going through a process like this. And I'm not saying that I'm doing this the best way and I'm spending the money, as wisely as ever possible. I mean, I'm sure I'll make mistakes and do dumb things, but you can learn from those as well. If I pay for something and then say, that was totally not worth the money, I wish I hadn't done that. I want to share all that and not just talk about it in vague terms of like, I spent a lot of money. To somebody, they could be like, was that like $100? Is that like $1,000? And so that's the update for today. I want to, first of all, that's my approach to funding this. It's all coming out of my bank account. And then I also want to share more of the specifics. I think I'll throw up like a web page or something on my just my personal kevinsidwar.com. That's just what I'm spending on the hockey puck project. So you can get some insight into that. Maybe find it useful, maybe not. I don't know. So that's it for today. Question of the day, talking about money. If you had $100,000 to invest. This isn't to give away or anything like that. If you had to invest it, would you rather invest that in startup companies or would you rather invest that in stock market stuff, whether that's indexes or something else? So startups as like an angel investor or just raw stock market. What would you do with $100,000 to invest? Stick it in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching Daily IoT, the show where together we're learning how to make the Internet of Things one day at a time.